Today, we are delighted to have with us Mr. Arun Dekkala, who is the Director of Product Management at Cisco. He has over a decade of experience in product management, and he has worked with organizations like PayPal and Cisco in the intersection of AI and customer experience. So, today, he'll be guiding us through his journey and what are the key skills that people who are aspiring for product management should entail. Mr. Arun, let's start with your journey. You started with engineering and then later transitioned into product. So, what was the motivation behind that like?
Yeah. So I'll get started with a brief intro. So I'm Arun Dekkala. I've been currently working as Director of Product Management at Cisco, where I work across customer experience, developer ecosystems, and platform innovation. My journey started not just like a progression or a transition, it's an eventual progression from product analyst to a product leadership roles. Uh, Today, I'll be sharing my perspective on that journey. To come to your question again on what exactly that journey looks like. So I started as a product analyst role, which gave me a strong exposure towards understanding problem, analyzing requirements, also identifying the gaps in that process. It also laid a strong foundation in structured thinking, problem solving, and also a bit of understanding of why we need to solve so and so problem. So my my responsibilities over time expanded from analysis into ownership. So I moved from supporting decisions to making product decisions, which is which is all that progression that happened. So wherever the analysis took place in my early days of my career, it's now into defining 3 4 years of overall strategy for the bigger portfolio. That's what I'm currently doing it, and that's how the progression happened. It's actually an eventual and like a progression that one would make like an curve that we'll need to look at overall product management journey. Yeah, that's how I put it. The progression
Yeah.
aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That eventual curve that we all, experience as we move on and progress in our careers. So, actually, product management is one of the most talked about roles and professions in today's time. So, what do you think are the key skills that a student who wants to now aspire to go into that role? What are the skills a person should actually have in them or build in them?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. So yeah, so I'll bring up the perspective from my journey, and we'll see how that helps to the audience. So, what I would think is more like structured problem solving is the first and most important problem skill in the product management. So, I learned to take something ambiguous and turn it into clearly defined problem. So till today, even though the role progressed and the industry have been turned little different with the advent of AI, that one skill is the most important skill. It's what I consider. And the second one would be analytical thinking. So the understanding requirements, pain points, what the gaps are, is the second most important thing. And then comes the next two, which is also as critical as the other two, which is stakeholder management. So, at any level or any role that you do in the software industry or like in any other company, stakeholder collaboration is the backbone to do anything that makes sense to the business. And because product management doesn't only talk about ideas, it need to do execution as well. So that's the third most important skill I would say. And the fourth one, as I speak, it's not about a skill. I would think it more like a habit. So to be more relevant and important in the overall product management development area, always have the habit of observing products, how things are working around you, and how it is important for you to think what is that it is its purpose is for, right? So that habit is one of the skill that I acquired all these years, and still helping me a lot to do things little better what I used to do the previous day. So that's keep on improving. Yeah, that four skills is what I think the core skills that I still continue to progress.
Okay, I think they'll be really valuable for all of us because I think a lot of people who want to, move into product roles, at least at the later stages of their career. So I think that would be really helpful. Also, you're currently driving AI innovation and customer experience at Cisco. So, how do you think the advent of AI, although you just mentioned, but could you just touch upon a few more points on how AI, is changing the way products are built, or how will it change product management in the coming few years?
So the advent of AI is at the current stage. It's no more impacting one role or the other, or one business or the other. Like it is going to impact and create a effect in every of the other business out there. So coming to what and how it is impacting Cisco and the areas that I've been working on. So in enterprise collaboration, customer experience, it's it's basically about how businesses bring collaboration with other business, employees, customers, etc. So AI is making it much more hyper personalized with the help of bringing lot of data and synthesized analysis out there readily available for to take actions. So that action can be sending a proactive outbound communication, making a customer call, outbound call that has to be made, or sending a proactive email with all the information that is required for the customer. So that is how businesses look forward in employee or customer experience. Whereas for specific to the roles, if at all we look at, I would not say that it's only for product management role anymore or any other role. I think the role definitions will start blurring like as we talk, as we speak. So today in the morning, I have seen some role which says senior AI UX product manager. What does that mean? Like there is already a clear job titles coming up, like UX designer and product managers are actually like overlapping. So do you need a UX designer to actually put a mock-up and do what that needs to be there? Or you actually need one person who can actually define what the user experience should be and also define what problems the product should solve for. And eventually I'm not surprised in very few months, no, I'm not even saying years, it will be like some role comes up, says that AI UX product architect engineering manager. Like I think that day is not so far. So that's what AI will put every one of us in thinking. So we should expand our thought process, thinking, and execution style. What is AI bringing to us? So that's how I look at it.
I think we are also, a lot of us are definitely now trying to learn analytics and how analytics and AI are also integrating, especially with the current the artificial intelligence affairs that we had in Delhi. We also tried to explore that. One more question regarding the field that you're in. If someone realistically wants to go into product management, then what are some key endeavors at a student level or as a young professional that a person can take so that they can slowly transition into a product role?
Okay. So is it more like the career progression in product management or
So it's
like
like what
how to get
experiences
into
they can
product
have in
management?
life in terms of their career, what kind of projects they can entail themselves into to build their skills in a certain way.
Okay. So I would say, and like again, starting from scratch of how students or the aspirants and who wants to become product management actually think, maybe whoever is outside of product management, it has an impression that product managers are the ones who actually talk or think about ideas. It's a creative role, right? But being in product management almost like 14 to 13 years now, I would say ideas is definitely important. Creativity is also definitely important. But product management actually bridges the gap between idea and outcome. So it's not about I have an idea, but it's all about how to get that idea like shaped up and take to the market. So when someone is looking for stepping into product management role and you are preparing for interviews or even getting to do some uh, courses online, look for the things that actually where execution matters. So you can think of like which ideas is worth pursuing for so and so user, under what constraints, with what trade-offs is what much more important than the idea. And then it comes the harder part, which is like execution heavy. So as I'm again saying, creativity is important, but the disciplined execution, what turns possibility is much more important. So I would say, like great PMs, even in my team, it's not just imaginative. Uh, Great PMs should actually be more pragmatic, rigorous, and strong at making choices. So that's where the judgment is required. So if someone senior asks you, telling that, why should we put this feature? It should not be an answer coming and saying that the UI looks bad, right? Or I need to move this button to X to Y so that the user can actually find the button more intuitive. So don't think that as a product management. It's very minor part of product management where it user experience aspect of it. But first of all, think it like why do we need a button there? Or else why does that screen even require? Right? Think of it one step before thinking about what is the problem that this button is all about. I'm just taking an example of that button, but it can be anything like a feature uh, or a report or anything that you think about bringing up to the product. And that's for anyone who is stepping into or like wanted to step into product management. I think the clear thing one should practice is identifying the balance between creativity and execution, and that makes you so powerful. And um, something like AI is not very good at this stage because it keeps on throwing you a lot of information. But at least that is where product manager, like a human product manager, will bring the judgment to the table. Yeah.
One more question, since the participants want to know a little bit more about your journey, if you could also tell, like throughout your journey, what are the key challenges that you have faced, not just technically, but also maybe a lot of times there's organizational politics or how to actually fit into a culture of an organization. What are some things that you had to navigate through as you grew in your career?
It's not just like the technology aspect of it, it's more like broader people aspect. Is that the question is about?
Yeah, yeah, you can mention any aspect, whatever you faced.
Okay. So I think like every one of us might have faced some challenge or the other when we actually move from one level to another level. And that I have actually faced multiple times. Like, fortunately, I've been like in a fast track path all these years. Like, because I would not say it's more like I'm running all through these years, but I'm being more structured in what really matters. And that's how it helped me to like maybe do the career progression a little more faster compared to others. And that's where the challenge that I faced continuously is more like bring the justification why Arun should be able to do this, or else why Arun versus why someone else? I think you'll need to prove the point at every stage that why this opportunity is to be given to Arun or like some X, right? The challenge there is you'll need to prove to the organization, your manager, your like um, skip level, etc. Right? So how do you prove that is what the the major challenge one will face when we are growing up the ladder. And I have faced it in like multiple times there, and that actually helped me to sharpen my skill set. I would not say that's a, like a challenge, something is a bad thing, or else a challenge that actually impacted me. But I would say the challenge which actually helped me to grow and more stronger and sharper. Because I'll need to be always on the toes to be able to prove the point that why I'm doing it better and how I can actually make this work. So people at the top doesn't actually need people who actually say that this is not working, we are not be able to do this, or we have so and so X challenges to get this done. But people at the top, maybe like someone at head of product or chief product officer, like they think like I'll need to have the people who can get things done, right? How that execution uh, expertise you can actually prove to your leadership. So I turned my challenges into something which are more meaningful and justification points, and that's how I have overcome my challenges. Yeah.
That was very insightful. I think great motivation for young people like us who are stepping into their career journeys. One more thing from your journey, since you started from an engineering background, do you think a person who is not from an engineering background or a tech background may face challenges if they're going into product, or what can they do to map those challenges if they face any?
Um, I would actually frame my progression within product rather than transition from engineering, because my first role is actually product analyst, like which is closer to what product management does. However, I think to answer your question better, I think that question would be more appropriate maybe like 5 or 4 years back, where as I'm calling it out, right? Like now the role boundaries will just be uh, blurred as much as we can see, right? So the intention and the right skill set to get problems solved is what is going to be mattered. And that's how we are actually seeing all this in the enterprise. The interview styles, how the assessments happen when we are actually looking for candidates is not more than like how that candidate has been done like 5 years back. Did they code or not code, versus is the candidate able to solve problems and get things done? Because previously, like let's say I'll take from an example where someone is hiring for an engineering or a programmer. Previously, there used to be assessments to understand whether they can write code, like put a syntax and write a Java program or etc. But I don't think people are now looking at that, because everything is being done by AI, right? Like you have cursor, you have windsurf, you have codex, right? Why do you worry about like the syntax, whether you put a comma after so and so or else braces after in this? Because that's not a problem to be addressed by organizations when hiring candidates. That's more for AI and the tools to be solved for. And the candidates that need to be on the organizations to be able to utilize those tools and bring the value to the table. Consider that for programmer or a coder, and the same thing for a product manager. So previously it used to be like how many product uh, management years that you have versus what you're bringing to the table now, because we are in an acceleration mode now. In the last 2 to 3 years, you're all in an acceleration mode, because you see 2023 we spoke about prompt engineering. So there are roles telling about, there are courses suddenly opened up on Coursera, etc., telling that you'll need to be a prompt engineer to write the right prompt. 2024, the prompt engineering is no more taught. It's about context engineering. Like you'll need to understand the context. 25, it's about agents, orchestration, and other things, because you don't need to write a prompt in what AI understands. Now it's more like you will need to make agents work together to be able to do solve the problem for you. So it's not like, again, coming back to question, it's not like you're moving from one role to another role. How do you able to tell the story when you're in an interview, or else when you're actually doing that for that role, like let's say product management, what judgment and what skill set you're bringing to the organization? Because most of the things that used to be done by product managers 4 years back is no more product manager role. It's about how you utilize AI and the tool available to do that work. So that's how I will wanted to answer that question. Yeah.
So there's a question in the Q&A section wherein an attendee is asking that they're just starting their MBA journey from this year onwards. So, what are the skills not necessarily related to project management, but as a business professional that they should have so that they can stand out in the competitive world? Because we have so many people in, and it's not just in this institute, overall in the market right now, job market. So how can we differentiate ourselves? What are certain skills, courses? It can be both soft skills or hard skills that you would suggest.
Yeah. So again, I think one core fundamental thing is all about how do you solve the problem. Like that is a core fundamental skill. I would make it applied for any role that you're going, right? Are you a problem solver is the first thing. So how would you solve the problem? Like there are different means of solving a problem. Write a piece of code, do a beautiful design, graphic design, or generate videos, content, or whatever. Like, but still the core principle is problem solving. And the second most critical and important skill, because the question is more generic across, cutting across all the industries and job roles. The second most important would be to have AI fluency. So it's the most useful skill that you will be requiring in the next months to years is AI fluency. So there isn't no chance for anyone out there looking for jobs to be not aware of what's happening in AI and how to use AI tooling in anything. Like be it like even someone who is not even into software world still need to have AI fluency. I would like quote one key thing here. So all of us has very like different version of how AI will actually be coming in the next few years. And one big thing always comes up is AI is going to take your jobs. But what I would say is AI is not going to take your jobs, but the person who knows how to use AI will take your job. So be it you're entering into product management or it's you're into business development, because like let's talk a secondary example as business development. So business development also needs a lot of research, competitor battle cards. How do you pitch in? How do you talk to like when you're closing a deal? Imagine a business development um, manager or a leader who is having 10 years of experience versus a business junior BD who just joined an org with the right skill set in AI and problem solving mindset will leverage all the tooling available, the research that is to be done. So that secondary junior level business development executive will do a lot more better with all the data that is available for him, synthesized, processed, asking the right questions at the right time. And that is only available or like can be done with these two aspects. Like you will need to have the mindset to solve the problem. The problem here can be closing a deal, getting a new customer onboarded, or improving the revenue for the business. All of it is again coming to the business development role. And the second one, how do you do that? Like you will need to use AI in this era to be able to solve the problem for you. So those are the two skill set which apply for any role out there in the current era, I would say.
Okay, I think what the two insights that I've like entailed from most of this discussion right now is that we really need to be fluent and well versed with AI, and second is we need to have a problem solving
Mindset.
attitude mindset, no matter which role we are entering into, but specifically for product, right?
Yes.
Like I would assume that you would have taken some interviews or observed your colleagues who are in product management as well, right? So, what are some things that you notice in them? Like, what are certain defining factors apart from, I would say, problem solving that you can notice while taking interviews if someone has a knack for product management? How can you gauge that, or what are certain tools that interviewers use so that I think we can also use them in our preparation?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a very useful question for this audience, I believe. And like I'll share my thoughts and experience how I would actually do. I look for clarity of thought because I'm whatever I say now, it's not just for product management, right? Like because the audience, the people who actually opted for uh, PGDM course or the MBA here would actually go into roles across different um, spectrum, like be it marketing, product management, etc. So I'll talk about few things. I look at more generic across these things. So first thing is clarity of thought and customer depth. So understand your customer. Who is your customer? Be it one user or 100 million users. Understand customer depth. And the third one is trade-off judgment. Like you'll need to have a judgment like what to be done, what not to be done. Like that's very important. And fourth one is ownership mindset. So you'll need to own what you're dealing with. So that ownership mindset is definitely what we look for. And you can actually think of it like I'm maybe in an interview with a candidate, I will think of to give an ambiguous problem and whether the candidate is able to structure that problem well. Like that's a definitely key thing I look for. And secondly, like I wanted to understand the user's perspective with real depth rather than shallow assumptions. So I would think like I've actually seen multiple people saying that um, I think so, or maybe that might happen, right? So all these are very shallow assumptions, right? So that's where candidates or anyone from like the college or this group should avoid. So maybe so on, or like even things on an interview is actually very shallow, right? Be concrete in word, like what's your perspective with real depth. And other thing I actually look for is execution style and execution readiness. If at all on the day one, given a problem to solve for, whether the candidate will be able to execute it right then. And things like understanding risks, dependencies, measurable outcomes, it's all comes as part of that execution style. And the final thing, it's more like again cutting across any role, is curiosity and adaptability. So you'll need to be very curious on what you're dealing with. You'll you'll only learn or else dig deeper into things like what to be done, how should be doing it, what value we'll be creating. Is it's all comes with the curiosity aspect. So you'll need to be very curious to know the unknowns. And last, like not the least one, it's more adaptability because as we see how things are changing rapidly. Adaptability is one thing that is required for any uh, person joining the org, because strong candidates show not only product thinking but also learning with agility. So because in this fast changing world, that combination is something very much important. So these overall, uh, whatever I have just spoken about, it's not just about as a product manager. It cuts across any role that any organizations look for currently. Yeah.
One more question that I got in my mind, because currently we are also studying project management. So I wanted to know if there is any kind of intersection between product management and project management, or whether skills like Agile, Scrum, do these actually come in handy when you're actually managing products also?
I would say that the two things actually work side by side, not completely overlap in a, again, like two types of organizations. Where organization have like a strong product culture, these things will not overlap. But organization is not a product driven or maybe a service or more like even consider a startup, right? So product management, project management actually, and even sometimes program management actually mix, overlap, and all that happens. But if like you consider like more from a product or a product driven culture, that's where there is a clear boundaries defined. Like think of it like the problem solving aspect and go to market execution aspects, which relates to how do you bring an idea to the point that needs to go to market. It's all product manager's responsibility. Project management is what will be one of the stakeholder for that entire process, to actually be able to track the end-to-end progression, unblock things wherever that's not progressing, bring the observability the entire stakeholder, like what's the velocity, is happening across all the scrum teams there. So your question related to understanding or even learning about the agile methodologies, these things, I would say for program manager or a project manager role is definitely must. But for product manager, it's not about the consuming that methodologies or applying that methodologies, but to work i- alongside with that methodologies is what I would say. Because product manager who is working with the project manager, if at all, in that org, will need to know what does like agile methodology means, what is Scrum or like even Kanban, how does the execution happens. That's essential for a product manager to know. But someone who is actually been early in the career, like let's say, or else out from an business school, I would say you should be open to both, because majority of companies out there when who are hiring for someone in early product careers, you will see job responsibilities that will overlap with both. Yeah, as you move up, I think things would start having better boundaries, at least between these two roles. Yeah.
One more question, as you mentioned about how you assess candidates. You mentioned mostly about the technical aspect. When you focus on the behavioral aspect, which is also currently like gaining a lot of importance, how behavioral aspects and psychology these are assessed. In interviews, do you like see any of the behavioral mechanisms being used? And again, what is the kind of qualities you look for in people?
I think that's almost the same, because I personally don't see two different things, because few things that I have called out as curiosity, adaptability, and also to be able to handle multiple stakeholders. It's not functional aspect, because I assume when you're saying technical, it's actually functional, and there is people aspect to it. So at least when I do assessments and even do interviews, I don't see it different, because at least someone from my team, you can't have a a functional product manager who actually can write an excellent PRD, but not have the soft skill to manage people. So those are at least I don't see as two different sets of uh, like competencies. Those are together is what I would say. Yeah, and there are multiple ways of doing this. Uh, like the initial rounds, maybe like take an assessment on psychometric test, or else things like uh, doing the assessment more on the behavioral aspects. But look at from the hiring manager perspective, because I'm being more transparent here. Look this from the hiring manager perspective. Someone you're hiring in your team, what does it matter? Like you'll need things to be done, not things to be just shown on paper. So these functional and behavior aspects come together when someone like a hiring manager actually will interview you or takes the decision. Yeah.
Uh, One more question which I had in my mind is that if you was like in our place and you would be starting your career today in today's time, then what would you do differently? What would be some changes or maybe some advice you would give according to how things should be done differently in just today's day and age?
Um, okay. So this requires some thought. So if I start now, right? Yeah. So what I would actually maybe thinking is build something early. If I actually start now, because like almost like 14 years back, when I wanted to build something, I don't have all the right tools to build. Like let's say I have an idea and I'll need to go through the entire cycle of creating. I still remember things like we used to use balsamic or some other tools to actually, and even I have idea of putting my drawing on a bit of piece of paper and then translating it to someone in the UX team, getting things done. But if I actually start something now, I can imagine an idea today. By the end of the day, I can actually get a working prototype ready. So I would think of it like build early, right? You might be doing it completely wrong, but you have all the tools readily available to justify and see whether your idea is something which will make money, right? At the end of the day, if your idea is not making money and not usable, uh, it's not useful. So now what I would start, build early, like build something what you wanted to do, instead of wasting time to entirely see whether it will work after 3 months or 6 months. So that is one thing. And I'll not wait for some title to be given or a role to be given. If at all I start now, like maybe I started with the product analyst, but I'll start thinking like the role I want it to be. Like if I wanted to be a product manager, even I have started as product analyst, or even I have started in, because the nowadays we don't have much of a choice to get into job, right? Like especially for, I know I have been to the same struggle every one of you will be having now to get a job, right? You will be getting a job which you might be thinking that's not my right role, right? But you need to get into that job. That's important once you are in this placements and that zone. But think of it, once you join there, but you have your own dream job, dream role, etc. Begin acting like that role that you wanted to be. If you wanted to be a product manager, think like a product manager, right from the role that you are there. You start thinking like it, you will achieve that. And that's what I will do if at all I start now. And instead of waiting for that role to be given to me, I will start working in that mode, because the roles will just be, as I told, it will start being blurred as much as possible in next few months to years. Like it will happen as fast as we can actually see. And current set, right? There is lot of model tools available which aren't there previously. So every one of you has a huge advantage if they recognize this early, and they don't need to wait for months or weeks to get this something built what you're thinking. So they can just start creating visible evidence of what they're thinking and execution much easier now. So that is what I think I will do if at all I start my career now.
I think that was very valuable, especially for me because I'll be stepping into my placements next year. Is that if I'm aspiring to do something, I should work towards it and not wait for someone to give me that opportunity, but wait for them to actually, give me, like making myself more valuable to the market. I think that's what I could
Yeah,
understand. There was one question in the chat wherein, so I think all of us students, because AI has been in the like market for I think 3, 4, 4, 5 years now. So we are all using AI definitely, whether we use Copilot, we use Perplexity, Claude, Gemini, we all use these AIs. But what I've heard is that companies also have specific AI models that they use, which are um, they're exclusive to their company. So like any kind of training, like do you think when we enter into companies would we be needing to know those kind of tools as well specifically, or is it like these general AI is enough?
I would say like AI fluency means how the overall agentic ecosystem works is what you'll need to get to know, like in this current world. Because tooling is one part of it, whether a company uses Claude, Codex, Cursor, Windsor, like whatever tools that they have. But the basic fundamental thing you'll need to know is there is an LLM model which would actually call maybe a small language model or an MCP tool or an external agent or an API call, right? That's the basic building block when how agents and AI is currently working. So this LLM is actually can be an note taker in this meeting, or can be an marketing tool which you will need to write some content, or you think of an automation journey where you need to make API calls to some third party systems. But the basic fundamental block remains same, is in this generative AI world, and that is more important for every one of us to be aware of it. And whatever each of these companies are actually doing, it's more the application layer. So you think of it like there are few different things, right? Like there is an infra layer, right? Which is like where do these AI models, the entire data models sit, is an infra layer. On top of it, you have an AI execution layer, like where this tools come in, like ChatGPT, Claude, etc., that will be exposed. And the third layer is the application layer. That's where the businesses make money, right? Like maybe think of it like currently we are on Zoom. So the meeting transcription that's happening, the meeting summarizations that happens, and all that intelligence is an application layer where some of the model is in the back end that's been consumed. So that application layer can be keep on changing, but you'll need to be versed and have the fluency of what's the underlying architecture in terms of not the technology architecture everyone needs to know. It's more the design architecture, like how each of these building blocks work. Then you will be able to apply in any of this thing. So that basic building blocks for your understanding is much more important than learning every other tool in out there in the market, because some of the tools will become obsolete, but the basic building blocks will still remain as is. Yeah.
So I think what I could gauge is that because tools are constantly changing, some are becoming redundant, we should be, I think, very well versed with the concepts, the basis of what is being formed, rather than just learning to know every nitty gritty. We should know what are the foundations of any tool that we're using, right?
Yes, exactly. Because think of it, right? 2023, like when this lot of boom, like there
Yeah.
is one simple chat GPT thing. and people just focused on how do I write prompts. Images is not even thing in maybe 2020 to 23. But all the is now gain packaged as one single application layer, right? And think of it like these AI hyperscalers can actually eat away the business of lot more applications that are out there in this. So B2B business, product, SaaS companies, etc. All of it can actually be done by these hyperscalers. So the core thing, as you also mentioned, the core concept still remains same, is that instead of the application layer, the main building block layer or the execution layer is what matters the most.
Okay, so I think probably since we're coming to the end of the webinar, I would like to know, since you mentioned some resources, some skills, what is one habit, like an MBA student or a PGDM or a PGPM student should have in them that you probably don't see in students, but you feel they should have in them, to make themselves more equipped for the market they're getting into. It can be anything. It can be a soft skill developer or a hard skill developer, any habit that would help them.
Yeah. So what I would think is more think of it like, yeah, when we say habit, right? So can be habits like reading a book or something. But what I would actually practice that I would also suggest is studying the products intentionally. So it's not just like observing, you also study the product intentionally, like be it any product that you're using, right? Like let's say like we are on a Zoom meeting call now, right? Like you can actually know how it is actually working. Does it solve the problem? Right? You actually might be using your maybe a keyboard, right? Like what you're being using. So understand it more intentionally. What's it designed for? Like what's the experience that is? So you think in a way that why this product exists, right? Which will be useful for you to connect any of the pieces that out there. So maybe over time, what that habit will sharpen you is you'll get the product sense, right? Product sense is something like any uh, PGDM or PGPM student will need to have, which is like you'll need to understand why is something built, right? Be it hardware product, software product, or any product, right? That over time this habit will help you to have this product sense, because product sense you can't actually read from books. Product sense is something you'll need to acquire. So this is one habit I would say, like study the products intentionally, and this also will help you to strategically think, like in some kind of discussions in the in group meetings, or even when you actually given a chance to talk about something. So this helps you to think more strategically and arrive at a decision. If at all you are asked to provide a decision, your decision will have a lot more clarity, right? The examples I have given, like maybe a mouse pad or even Zoom meeting that we have, or like the camera that we have see, right? So that will actually improve your decision quality as well. Like why is something need to be decided in this way versus that? So that is one habit I think I would say it helps you everyone, because it's more like generic across the roles that you will be going into once you complete this course. So but if I had to like one takeaway, like turn everyday product usage into deliberate learning. So whatever you are actually using, make that into a deliberate learning. So that one habit I think I would suggest. Yeah.
Does anyone have they have any questions? You can post it in the Q&A section so that we can take them up just to conclude the session. I can see one question, which is what kind of AI projects or courses can people do? if they especially they have done project management, they have work experience in product. So for upskilling, are there specific courses or projects they can do to add in their resume?
I don't suggest like one course or the other. I think
Okay.
again, going back to the same thing, right? Like there are hundreds of courses out there. And if you open like maybe YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere, any other like want to be influencer has a course by them. So it's not again the course that is important. Like again, think of it the building blocks, what is required. Like you'll need to understand what's AI infrastructure mean, what's context in the AI world means. How are these? Because that's you'll see the same curriculum across any course out there because most of them will be copy paste, right? But think of it the topics that are important, whatever is accessible to you. Maybe you have some um, like subscription with some of the learning module, go for it, you'll find that. So it's not one course or the other. Think of it more like the topics that are important for the understanding the building blocks of AI.
Okay, I think since I've seen in the Q&A section, I don't think there are any more questions. So with that, I think we'd like to conclude this session. I think it was a very insightful session wherein we not only understood about product management, but I would say key technical, of course, technical skills, but also soft skills that we need to have as we're transitioning into like the job market. How AI is important, be it no matter from what background you are, whether engineering or you're from a non-tech background. These are certain key basic, I would say, hygiene skills that you need to have if you're stepping into today's world. Thank you so much, Mr. Arun, for your time. I think we all are really grateful that you could give us your insights and time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Actually, like one thing I'll say and close, I think every one of us has this is the one of the most exciting times to build a career because the future is not simple. The future is full of possibilities. Like you can do what you want because the tools, opportunities out there, and you will need to focus on what to be done. So that creates and stay relevant is what I would give as suggestions. Like be relevant how the industry is moving and stay relevant as you progress in the career. So that's a key thing that I would like to say and conclude. Yeah. Thank you everyone for having me here.